So today our lesson will be all about social responsibility of entrepreneurs. So here in Module 3, we must rationalize the importance of ethics and social responsibility in entrepreneurship. So in this lesson, lesson 3.1, our objectives will be as follow. First, we will define the term ethics. Second, we will describe the 3 levels of ethical standards and then discuss the approaches to business ethics. Present strategies for establishing ethical responsibility. So, first and foremost, before we continue, I would like to apologize if there will be unnecessary sounds that you will hear in this presentation. So, for your motivational question, or in your 3.1 lesson 3.1 learning assessment, for your assessment, how can you say that a person is ethically responsible, or what is ethics in your own words? So some have said that ethics, or they have connected ethics with morals, with right and wrong, and then they have said that a person is ethically responsible when one respects other people. So, what is really ethics? So, let us first define ethics. So, ethics is, by definition, it comes from a Greek word, ethos, meaning custom or mode of conduct. So, ethics in the broadest sense, it provides the basic rules or considerations for conducting an activity in an acceptable manner. Specifically, ethics represent a set of principles that prescribes a behavioral code. This explains what is good and right or bad and wrong. It may also outline moral duty and obligation. So at its simplest, ethics is a system or moral principles. Ayan. So, in short class, ethics or business ethics are the moral values, no? It is the moral values. Example of these are honesty, integrity, trustworthiness, respect, and justice. This will guide you towards certain behavioral standards or principles. Example, the official guidelines or the student handbook. So, another example is when a businessman wants to collect investments, or if a businessman wants to do crowdfunding. So, unsa man ang crowdfunding? Kana bang ang imuhang gamiton nga capital sa imuhang business are from the people, and then you will just pay them or pay them back with the money, including a profit, a certain percentage ng profit nga ilahang or imong gi-promise nila. So, you will use their money, and then mo to ang in return, you will give them profit. So, when one wants to do that, before you can collect an investment in the Philippines, one has to be registered in SEC, or the Security of Exchange Commission. This is to secure the investors and the investment also. So, as a sole proprietor kasi, if you're a if your business is a sole proprietorship type of business, we are not allowed to collect investments. So, whom are allowed? Of course, those are those businesses which are registered as corporations, because they were allowed, or they are allowed to collect investments kay naaman sila shares of stocks. So, if you enter a business venture and then ganahan ka mo gamit or mo collect og investments, crowdfunding is not ethically suggested, because no matter how clean your conscience is, you will be labeled as bogus or scammer because you have not followed the official guidelines of the government. That is business ethics. So there are dilemmas also. So what are dilemmas? These are, of course, difficulties along the way. Ethical dilemmas lurk in the decisions, even the most mundane ones the entrepreneurs make every day. So, naay dilemmas nga nag-atang sa imong matag desisyon nga buhaton sa mga entrepreneurs. So, bisan ang pinaka-most mundane or pinaka-most dull or the most simplest decision making, naagihapon tay mga dilemmas, nga ethical dilemmas. So, succumbing to unethical temptations ultimately can destroy a company's reputation. Succumbing, like, if you will fail to resist the unethical temptations, no, it will eventually destroy a company's reputation. One of the most precious and most fragile possession of any business. So, di ba, class, ang logo gani sa company, ang brand gani nimo is ipa-IPO pa or the intellectual property rights, kumbaga ipa-patent pa para way makasundog because that is your asset. So, dapat dili nimo hugawan ang reputation ana nga brand. So, ingon ana ka fragile and kana nga possession of your business, ang integrity. Okay, so what are the reasons for ethical conflicts? First is the different interests that confront business enterprises both inside and outside the organization. So inside, example, you're working in a motor parts production company. Then naa sila'y may mga byproducts or kanang mga products nga di nagamiton. So one of the policies could be bawal kumuha ng mga byproducts. So halimbawa, mag-cut sila og rubber. So di man jud na makuha tanan kay based na siya sa size nga imuhang or sa itsura nga imuhang ikat. So na mga mabilin nga mga gipang putlan. Then itatapon na lang siya. So ikaw sayangan man ka imong gikuha unsa kay bawal man na siya. So it's unethically wrong or it's wrong despite your idea nga ilalabog raman ni oy. So aho na lang kuhaon. So one of the reasons nga bawal ni possible could be people may tend to just get from those materials and then ilan lang siyang ibutang as waste or like ilan lang i-record nga waste. So para malikayan ang conflict of interest, so ibutang na nila sa policy. So we must respect it, no? So second is the change in morals or change in value. So kanang change mao nang possible nga naa kay argument sa imo mind, like okay ra ni kay gamay ra man ni nga ako kuhaon, or like okay ra ni ilalabog bitaw ni nila. So you may have your own ideas, you may have your own thoughts about it. However, when it's written nga bawal na siya, or even it's not written, if bawal na siya, it's still ethically not good to do or to get it. So dili siya ethically advised. Alright, so to continue, reliance on fixed ethical principles rather than on ethical process. So example, nag-fix ka or nag-rely ka sa ethical principle instead of the process. Example is like, one organization is so focused on their outputs, no matter on what process the subordinates achieve those outputs. So possible na ay luto or daya. So to get those outputs. So example, your company is more focused on achieving or assisting assisting MSMEs. So this number of MSMEs. So if you are ethically or you want to do the process, you want to follow an ethical process, so you really assist those MSMEs. So if mo rely na lang pud ka sa ethical principles nga naara kaingon nga ma-assist, no? So imo lang silang itagaan og flyer, assistance record na nimo, attendance. So dili siya maayo. Everything you must do it in an ethical process. So example ra na siya. So per me daw nato dapat huna-hunaon, in every decision that we make, there are key stakeholders who might get affected with our business or with the decision that we make. So there are external and internal stakeholders that may be affected. For the internal stakeholders, they are those nga directly within the organization, no? So apil diha ang employees, so it's within the organization, it's within the business environment. Next is external investors. So we can say nga external investors. So sa ato pa they are those nga mo invest sa company, so they are still within the business environment kamo ng internal stakeholders sila. Another are those nga company founders nga ma-affected with your decision making. And lastly is the management in your internal stakeholders. For our external stakeholders, of course, number one are the customers nga possible ma-affected. Then special group interest or special interest groups, or they could be the people nga directly nato nga gitagaan sa ato ang service or products. Suppliers also, and then community and general public, especially when our business is pursuing an advocacy, or if we are promoting something. And then the government also, then creditors, family, and unions. So mo na siya ang possible nga mga ma-affected. So various interests that confront business enterprises. So for instance, when the founders of a local coffee shop make a business decisions, they must consider the impact of those decisions on many stakeholders, including the team of employees who work there, the farmers and companies that supply the business with raw materials, the union that represents employees in collective bargaining, then the government agencies that regulate a multitude of activities, the banks that provide the business with financing, the founding partners and other external investors who help fund the startup, and general public the business serves, the community in which the company operates, the customers who buy the company's products, and of course, their families. So, daghay possible nga ma-affected. So, various interests that confronts business enterprises, sa various interests, manggod, we must balance everything, no? Because when making a decision, entrepreneurs often balance the needs and the demands of a company stakeholders, knowing that whatever the final decision is, not all groups will be satisfied. We cannot please everybody. All right, so there are in a survey of the KPMG Integrity, they identify the primary causes of misconduct in businesses, no? These are the causes of ethical lapses. So first of the causes is the pressure to do whatever it takes to meet business targets. So ang pressure nga ma-attain ang atong mga target output or target outcome. Kahit ano gagawin, basta kahit makalabag ng law, kintahay ang ato ang target is to raise our profit for 50%. So kahit mangdaya ka, so ang buhaton sa uban tax evasion, no? So that is one of the example. So company's code of conduct not taken seriously. Okay, so in this factor, gibaliwa ara or possible na kay written nga mga values, no, and morals and the standards nga gisuwat sa inyong handbook. However, they were not taken seriously. They may not be oriented sa mga tao, no, efficiently. So possible gipabasa ra or na taken for granted. So also will be rewarded for the results and not the means used to achieve them. So if ang imong company pod focused sa achievement, so you will be rewarded for the results, and then dili skip na nato ang means to achieve them. So usually diri pod mugawas ang unethical behavior just to achieve the results nga gitarget. and then unfamiliar with the ethical standards that apply to the job. So, that's why in organizations, it's really necessary nga imo jud ipahibaw sa imuhang subordinates ang imuhang mission and vision, your core values. So, for our university, what is again our core values? So, first is, it is RITE or the right. Relevance, integrity, truth, and excellence. So, first, dapat relevant. So, example, if you're on a research, dapat yung gagawin mo, dapat relevant sa atong society. Another is integrity. So, there must be integrity. Dapat unique ang imuhang paper. So, dapat hindi siya plagiarized. So, next is truth. So, dapat based on facts. And then, excellence. So, you do the paper with all your best. Dili lang basta makahimo og output. So, that is how you create or you make your subordinates familiar with your core values. You always orient them. You review. You make them memorize the core values or the mission and vision of the organization that you make para maisa puso nila kung ano yung mga standards na meron ka or yung gusto mong i-apply. So next is nakita nila nga mga causes is fear of losing job if business targets not met. Then believe policies are easy to override. Okay ra na, madadara man na. Bisag mao ni ang policy, okay ra because maumay ako ang nakaandan po dire. Pwede sad nga example, sa hiring process, hiring process ng isang organization, kintahay na may proseso like points, imo tagayan og points ang resume sa mga applicants. So, ang uban for promotion and for hiring, ang duol sa kasing-kasing. No, sila ang hired. So, dapat ang mga policies, it is set para sundon, no? Dili para i-override lang. Next is lack resources to get the job done without taking shortcuts. So, lacks resources. Lisod po og mag-set manggod ta og objectives and then dili siya possible, dili siya feasible. So, ang mahitabo sa mga empleyado, tatama rin, and then they will only focus on what they can benefit. So, di manggod nato mapugos. So, that's why it is really important that we set realistic goals. So, last cause na according sa studies, seeking to bend the rules for personal gain. So, conflict of interest na siya. So, ayan. So, to proceed sa ato ang learning outcome number 2 or our second objective. So, this is to describe the 3 levels of ethical standards. So, naaday levels ang ethical standard. Ethical standards are a set of principles established by the founders of the organization to communicate its underlying moral values. So this code provides a framework that can be used as a reference for decision-making process. So what are the 3 levels of ethical standard? First is the law, then the policies, and procedures and morality. So, ang pinakamababaw yung law, narrowest, and pinakamalalim the morality. So, law, policies and procedures, and morality. So, for the law is the narrowest level of ethical standard. So, the law merely establishes the minimum standard of behavior. Actions that are legal, however, may not be ethical. So, dili tanan nga legal, ethical na. Example, abortion. There are countries nga legal na ang abortion. However, there are people who do not see abortion as ethical, no? Ethical activity. So, simply obeying the law is insufficient as a guide for ethical behavior. Ethical behavior requires more. Few ethical issues are so simple and one-dimensional that the law can serve as the acid test for making decisions. So, ito yung pinaka-basic, kumbaga, nga tanawon nimo if in your decision-making, pwede ba ni siya buhaton? Angay ba ni siyang buhaton? So, example, keeping the money that someone dropped is legal. But again, many would find it unethical, no? So, dili tanan nga lawful is ethical. So, okay lang kita kamo class sa inyong buhaton when you found something, money, no, na nalaglag, inyo ba siyang ikip? Then inyong hunaon if akong pangitaon ang tag-iya tingalig naapoy gara-gara og ingon nga aho na bisan dili, no? So is that your view, or muingon ka nga finders keepers and then thank you Lord kita kog money, o mag thank you pa ka, no, that someone dropped the money while naglisod ikaw nalipay. So many would find that unethical. So, death penalty class is also legal in some countries, but a multitude of individuals consider it unethical. So, dili tanang lawful is ethical. Smoking cigarettes in public is legal in some places, but some may find it disrespectful and unethical. Lastly, abortion. Ano? Excuse me, katong atong gi-example ganina. In some places, legal siya, but many consider it as unethical. So, next level is the policies and procedures. So, policies and procedures are usually implemented or posted or given sa ato ang mga organizations, sa ato ang businesses, so sa ato ang university. So, kining mga policies and procedures, this includes a broader definition of ethical standards that go beyond what is defined by the law. So, mauna ni siya ang came up sa management, no, nga policies. So many colleges and universities have created honor codes, and companies rely on policies covering everything from sexual harassment and giving or gift giving to hiring and whistleblowing, no. Suhol, gift giving. So unethical, whistleblowing kana bang class, naay tao ka naghimog unethical behavior, hintahay nangupit, and then naay nakahibaw, a certain person nga nakahibaw, so whistleblow siya, so iyang istorya. When we say whistleblow, parang you will spill the beans, sasabihin mo kung ano yung nalalaman mong sikreto, no, na hindi maayo, dili okay. So that's for whistleblowing. So here are examples of common workplace policies that could assist you, no, in your workplace. First is the code of conduct, no. So usually kini makita nato sa mga handbooks. Recruitment policy. So written na siya. Internet and email policies, mobile phone policies, and the non-smoking policies, drug and alcohol policy, health and safety policy, anti-discrimination and harassment policy, and grievance handling policy, and also discipline and termination policies. So, including the social media, no, policy. So, karon nowadays, usually apil lagi ning social media. Even sa atong university, gi-orienta sa social media. Sanitize your social media accounts. So, apil na siya sa mga common workplace policies nga could assist us in our workplace. So lastly, class, the morality, kining a level, it is the broadest and most fundamental definition of ethical standard. So the values people learn early in their life and at home, from their religious upbringing, in the communities they were raised in school and at work. These are the ingredients at this level. So morality is what shapes a person's character. So a strong determinant of a moral behavior is training, no? So as Aristotle said thousands of years ago, you get a good adult by teaching a child to do the right thing. So who among you know the difference between doing the right thing and doing the things right? So, unsay mas maayo, doing the right thing or doing the things right? So, when we say you are doing the right thing, start pa lang, sakto na imong gibuhat. When you're doing the things right, imo na lang giinsakto. So, which is better? You're starting sa good thing, or sa right thing, or nag-start kag sayop and then imo na lang gisakto. So, A company's culture can serve either to support or undermine its employees' concepts of what constitutes ethical behavior. So sa morality class, hindi lahat ng ethical tama. Like sa abortion, hindi lahat ng lawful ethical. So, yung iba, okay lang yun, no? Sa iba, unethical siya. So, it's important na sa simula pa lang, you do the right things. So, not to become religious here, no? But practically speaking, how do you determine the right and wrong ideas class? How do you determine a certain behavior is right? And how do you determine that a certain behavior is wrong? So, what is your basis? So, we know as a Christian, ang pinaka-best na basis gyud to determine the right and wrong is the Bible. So, nindot as a person that we determine or we set standards sa ato ang kagalingon. Where will you stand? Maabot ba ang time that you need to compromise? Will you compromise? You must set standards sa imo palang kaugalingon. What am I doing or what shall I pursue? Okay, so for our lesson, learning assessment 3 or our learning objective 3, we must discuss the approaches to business ethics. So much for the levels of ethical standards. So karon we will discuss the approaches to business ethics. So although companies may set ethical standards and offer guidelines for employees, the ultimate decision on whether to abide by ethical principles rests with the individual. So, in other words, companies really are not ethical or unethical. Individuals are. So, kita ang moset sa ato ang morals. So, managers, however, can greatly influence individual behavior within the company. So, that influence must start at the top of the organization. The entrepreneur who practices ethical behavior establishes the moral tone for the entire organization. So, dapat ang magsiset ng culture ng ethical behavior is yung nasa top management. Dapat sila yung good example. Dili nang sila pa ang magtudlo, no? O dili maayo. So, we must become aware whenever maabot po ng time that you will own your own organization, dapat ikaw pa lang, you will set standards para sila mismo mo-obey, mo-abide. And then you also set a good example. So what are the ethical styles of management? So there are ethical styles of management. There are 3. So the 3 ethical styles of management are immoral management, amoral, and moral. So sa immoral management class, immoral managers are motivated by selfish reasons such as their own gains are those of the company. So the driving force behind immoral management is greed, achieving personal or organizational success at any cost. So yan ang immoral na management. So ang immoral management is the polar opposite of ethical management. Immoral managers do what they can to circumvent laws and moral standards and are not concerned about the impact their actions have on others. So, immoral management, when you say ang imuhang management is immoral, they are willing to do anything at any cost para lang maabot ang inyuhang goals and objectives sa company. So, mao na ang tawag na immoral ang imuhang management. Ayan. So, ang ilang motives selfish, goals, profitability ba na siya, and organizational success at any price. Ang orientation towards law, ang legal standards, barrier lang yan sa management para ma-overcome at ma-accomplish ang ilahang goals. So, ang ilang strategy, exploit nilang opportunities for corporate gain. But, cut corners when it appears useful. So, for a moral class, sa moral management, the principal goal of these managers is to earn profit. But their actions differ from those of immoral managers in one key way. They do not purposely violate laws or ethical standards. Instead, moral managers neglect to consider the impact their decisions have on others. So they use free rein decision making without reference to ethical standards. So ang amoral management is not an option for socially responsible businesses. So if socially responsible business ka, di gihapon nimo ma-please tanan. So possible doing everything for your organization para ma-achieve ang imuhang goals. Minsan, we don't really intend to violate laws. However, the managers may violate some because of their goals, which is simply to earn profit or could be to earn profit. So, ang ilang motives is well-intentioned pero selfish in the sense nga ang impact on others, dili kaayo sila sensitive or dili nila i-consider. So, ang ilang goals is only profitability. So, orientation towards the law. Law is an ethical guide, preferably the letter of the law. The central question is what we can do legally. So, strategy gives managers free rein. Personal ethics may apply, but only if managers choose. So, respond to legal mandates if caught and required to do so. So, maunang term. They respond to legal mandates kung mahuli. So, dili kayo fence-sitter lang. Di kayo siya. Wala siyang gibarugan. No? Then, another type of management is the moral management. Kini. No? Nanay moral. Sa moral managers, they strive for success but only within the boundaries of legal and ethical standards. So, they have set standards na. So, ano siya ang klase sa management nga they are not willing to sacrifice their values. So, these are those who are keen to follow what is right. Maningkamot na sila ug abide sa law. Sa negosyante pa, complete nig papel, no? Complete nig rehistro. So, their motive is good. Management want to succeed but only within the confines of sound ethical precepts such as fairness, justice, and due process. So, profitability within confines of legal obedience and ethical standards. So, ang ilahang orientation towards the law, obedience towards the letter and spirit of the law. Law is minimal ethical behavior, no? And prefer to operate well above what the law mandates. Sa strategy, they live by sound ethical standards. So, nindot ni ang naay moral management. So, they want to abide and they are strict in it para maka-abide sa laws, sa morality, sa ilahang guidelines. So, what are the reasons, class, that businesses should run ethically? So, there are top 5 reasons. First is to protect the brand and company reputation. So, second, it is to do the right thing. No? Para malikayan po nato ang mga consequences. Okay, so third, maintain customers' trust and loyalty. Fourth is to maintain investors' confidence. And fifth, earn public acceptance and recognition. There are also factors, class, that drive business ethics. So, what are these? First is the corporate scandals. So, malikay tawag scandal. Second, marketplace competition. Because daghan na tayo ka-kompetensya, of course, we have to take care of our reputation. So, this is one of the things nga atong ampingan. So, that's why we have to run or we have to drive our businesses in ethics. So, demanded by investors. Especially kung demanded ng investors. Kaya sila ba yung nag-finance atong organization. So, we make sure that our business runs ethically. So, next is pressure from customers and globalization. So, when we say globalization, you're selling your products or you're opening your products sa lain pang mga countries. So, it means that you have a lot more competitors. So, through that or with that, globalization affects our business nga dapat we must run everything ethically, no? So, in our learning objective 4, you must proceed to presenting strategies for establishing ethical responsibilities. So, we will be discussing the strategies, how to establish ethical responsibility, no? So entrepreneurs can develop specific principles that will help them in taking the right external steps as their venture grows. So following are one executive's four principles for ethical management. So first tip is hiring the right people. Okay, so number 1 to sa goal. Ano ang goal ng human resource management? It is to hire the right people for the right job, no? So, unsay significance ani? Employees who lean on being ethical are the best insurance you can have. So, they may be the only insurance. So, ang pinga na nimo ang mga employees nimo nga honest, no? So, entrepreneurs should look for people with principles. So, let them know that those principles are an essential part of their qualifications for the job. So, there are questions during interview upon hiring and selection of these people in the hiring process. So, there are questions para sala natin who are the right people for our job description. So, usually, sa imong mga pangutana, bias na ang mga tubag, no? Luto na ang tubag. Why? Kay, syempre, ug unsay makapabor mo nang ilang itubag. So, I remember once when I applied, na uso nga pangutana nga, ilang jud gi pangutana, unsay imong partido? No? If i-hire ka na mo, di ba ka maglisod og connect? Kay tingali kontrapartido ka? No? So, you must hire the right people, and then by asking the right question. So in hiring the right people, nindot nga mapili nimo ang mga honest. Okay, so second principle is to set standards more than rules. Rather than stating, oops, bawal na, no cheating, you set standards. Or bawal manghupet, you set standards. So like for example, sa cashier, instead of stating, syempre bawal kumupit, na kay bawal ma-short, or na kay allowance of 10 pesos. 10 pesos nga short, 10 pesos nga over. Di pwede mo over, meaning dili po ni mo gi trabaho ang tarong ang imong trabaho, no? So, writing a code of conduct does not cover every eventuality. A person inclined to fraud isn't willing to sign your code. So, that's when contract comes. So, syempre, ang tao nga involved sa fraud, di siya ganahan mo pirma. That's why also in some jobs, may oath-taking pa. Yan. So, entrepreneurs should not waste time on heavy regulations. They should be clear about the standards, or they should let people know the level of performance they expect, and that ethics is not negotiable. Ayan. So, third tip, or principle number 3, don't let yourself get isolated. Entrepreneurs are responsible for whatever happens in their corporation or department. So, ayaw pasagdi nga si Jara usa nag-work. So, dapat na ay mga mutanaw. So, dapat na ay makakita. So, wag mong painan, kumbaga. At the same time, mas maayo na ay mag-monitor. If you want something nga ma-achieve, nindot, if na ay monitoring. And at the same time, if you want something, mawagtang ang habit, like habit of absenteeism or habit of punctuality, nga late, pirmi. So, dapat na ay monitoring. Don't let them be isolated. Don't let yourself be isolated. Next principle is the essential focus is to let your ethical example at all times be absolutely impeccable. Or dapat palaging to the highest standard, no? So, highest performance in accordance sa highest standard, no? Dapat ang imuhang ethical example is kagaya-gaya. According to Mark Twain, he quoted that entrepreneurs should always do the right thing. So, sabi niya, do the right thing, it will gratify some people and astonish the rest. So, it will give pleasure, no, to some people, and it will surprise the rest. So, that's according to Mark Twain. So there are also 10 essential or ethical principles to guide the behavior, ethical behavior. First is honesty, integrity, promise-keeping, fidelity, fairness. So, promise-keeping, no? Promise-keeping. Dapat may isang salita ka. Sabi nila, pag sobrang saya mo, wag kang mangako. Pag sobrang galit mo, wag kang sumumpa. Ayan. Promise-keeping. Caring for others, respect for others, responsible citizenship, and pursuit of excellence and accountability. Ayan. So, we have discussed the 4 objectives that we had. So, if there be any questions, you may chat, you may message me. And I'm one chat away. So that's all for today, class. So that's the end of my presentation. So thank you so much. And I hope you have a great day.